moment at a library. I was looking for books on design. I've got a cousin that lives here in Portland, and I was planning on moving to Portland, live with him, and was going to study design. And I went to my local library, and they didn't have any books on product design. They had like interior design, and clothing design, some other stuff like that, but nothing that I was looking for. And I was super frustrated, and I was going like this, leaning back in my chair, and just thinking like, what am I gonna do? Like, you know, in my life in general. And I opened up my eyes, and there was this bright orange book that caught my attention, and it was this book called The Translucent Revolution.
Now wait, was that before I used it? Because I used it.
This was before I knew you.
Oh, it was? Okay.
Yeah, this was in Redmond. I found that book in Redmond, and I was actually diagnosed with a learning disability in high school called dysgraphia, which I've totally overcome it, so it's not a big deal. But at the time, I felt as if I couldn't really learn effectively, and reading was not enjoyable to me. I never read for fun, and I hardly read for responsibility, like as a high school student. I barely graduated high school. But anyways, this book caught my attention, and it said The Translucent Revolution. And I had no idea what that word translucent means. It actually means somewhere in between opaque and transparent. So it lets light through without letting the image through. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, but I have no idea what that means. And then, but I read the subtitle, it says how people just like you are waking up and changing the world.
Woo!
And I was just like,
just like me.
Right, just like me. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
waking up for changing the world.
I think the author's name is Arjuna Adara.
Yeah, I think that's right.
That's how I pronounce it. Yeah. And he's got like a pretty heavy Buddhist background, and he talked about these concepts, I guess, you know, to use an umbrella term, spiritual concepts. And that really put me onto a different course. And I'd heard that Portland had some spiritual communities and stuff like that. And so after having read that book, I wanted to find something, and I saw...
So we're contrasting this with religion, right? It's not religion, but it's...
Yeah, I wouldn't consider that book a religious text.
Okay.
Even though it is rooted in Buddhism, I guess you could consider it religious in that regards, but it was... I didn't see it that way. I don't
see it that way. I've studied it. I've not just read it, I've studied it. I would say it's religious. Anyway, it's self-help. It's self-help / spiritual / philosophical.
Right. And so he uses that term translucent because basically it's like something that allows light to shine through it.
Okay.
But also maintains its own identity.
Its own identity,
yeah. Right? Mm-hmm. Yep. So it's not like a window which just shows what's there. Right, yeah. Well, I guess what's different about that situation and this situation is that I came out of that depression actually really quick. Basically, like as soon as I moved into my mom's place, I was not happy with my situation, but I didn't feel depressed, and I knew that I was moving in a more positive direction. And then when I got to Portland, things really kicked off for me, and I became quite the Puritan for several years. Like I not only did I overcome my marijuana addiction, but it's like it wasn't even a struggle.
Okay.
It's just like
it's not even a thought.
It just dropped away.
It just dropped away. Right. It just dropped away. And
necessary.
And my desire to be in meaningless or shallow relationships also just totally went away. Wow. And I think that was also largely due to the fact that I was reading Gandhi's autobiography at that time. I'd finished Translucent Revolution and started reading Gandhi's autobiography. But then this time was, so I got out of my depression and then essentially like picked up momentum for 10 years. It wasn't a steady change. It wasn't like steady growth. It was more like looking at a stock market chart.
Okay.
Right? You know, there's some ups and downs, but the general trend line is this direction. And so flash forward to 3 years ago, I was the dude.
Like I told you, like when you would walk in a room, it would somehow elevate. I mean, it would brighten in a way. And it's like, it was, in your presence was, you know, I just felt like there was light. It was more positive.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. and I identified with that.
Yeah.
And so this time, even though I had gone into depression and out of depression and knew that I could do it again, it was actually more difficult this time because it wasn't easy, and I couldn't figure out why it wasn't easy. And I would get really down on myself for feeling down, because having this identity as a change maker, and not being able to live that out, I felt as if I was robbing humanity, robbing God, robbing the universe, robbing all of us of my contribution. And that's
heavy.
Huh?
Yeah,
That's pretty heavy.
Right?
That's a lot. That's a lot to put on yourself.
That's a lot to put on
Yeah.
yourself.
And so then that adds a layer of guilt, which kept me further in depression.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
and
So
and,
you're depressed, and then you're guilty about being depressed.
right, yeah. Yeah, exactly. And I mentioned marijuana use, and when I first fell into depression, I wasn't using weed, mostly because I was traveling. I probably could have found it in India, but I didn't really have a desire to.
Plus, the prisons there aren't so great.
Yeah, probably not. But there was definitely some dudes smoking the reefer in India.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And I did try a beedi. It's like some sort of, I think it's like a beetle nut leaf.
Oh,
It's some
I've
sort of-
heard of that.
Okay, right.
Some sort of cinnamon that I did smoke.
I've heard of that,
before.
actually.
Yeah. So, then when I did get into Central Oregon, and basically my social circle in Central Oregon is all the friends that grew up there and never left.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say that in general, like my friends here in Portland tend to be like really conscious, spiritual, happy, optimistic. They tend to be successful and older than me. In Central Oregon, they're like the guys, I mean, I feel bad saying it this way, but it's like kind of like the guys who got left behind.
Yeah.
And there are some stars there, but for the most part, my friends in Central Oregon are not happy with their lives, at least not at a very high level, and they're certainly not all that ambitious. And that became my social circle, and so we quickly got reintroduced to that, but I wasn't a stoner. I didn't identify with that, yet I was smoking weed. And so there was like this huge split in my identity. And so like I would be like, I'm a positive, optimistic change maker, but I just smoked weed and that was bad. And so I feel bad about smoking weed. And now I feel worse than I did before I even smoked weed. And the only thing that's gonna make me feel better is smoking more weed.
Right. So here we are again. Yeah.
Yeah. And
So that was like 23, and then 33 happened again.
yeah. 33 happened again. It started actually 32 before 23.
Yeah.
Okay. And that kept pushing me farther down. And I would be like, I have to change myself. This guy that I am sucks, and he has to be a better person. And so starting today, I'm gonna be a Puritan again. And then like I would be able to stretch that out for maybe a few days, and then like and then maybe
You talked about the good wolf and the bad wolf earlier.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I definitely should talk about that again. Shouldn't I?
Yeah.
There's this boy, he's becoming of age in the Native American community, and he wants to be a good son, a good member of the community, but there's an element of him that wants to do bad things, more malicious things, more selfish things, and to him, it feels like it's a battle inside of him between these two wolves: a good wolf who wants to do right by his people, and a bad wolf who's more selfish or has bad habits, wants, whatever. And so he's describing this to the wise elder of the community, and he realizes that one of these two wolves has to win. And so he asks the elder which wolf wins, and he tells him the wolf that you feed.
Yeah, that's powerful.
And so it's an analogy for habits and forming habits. And So for me, and maybe this isn't the case for everybody, but for me, marijuana consumption is a bad wolf. And so are things like promiscuous relationships, because they take me out of alignment with my values and my ambitions, my aspirations. So I was definitely feeding a couple twin wolves there. One being the wolf of weed. And, I have this solely funny image of like a wolf with a joint. His mouth like a stoned.
Dude.
And the other one being the wolf of shame and guilt.
Yeah.
And at some point, I just got tired of feeding that second wolf. And like
the guilt wolf.
Yeah, I tried so many times to be sober again, and kept failing. And every time I failed, it was harder. I felt less confident of myself. And so I realized that I had to just admit, like, this is more of a challenge to me than I wish it was, but it is. And but I'm really tired of feeling bad about that. And at this moment, I want to smoke weed, and I want to be able to do that guilt-free. And that was like the shift that I made in myself. Like, it's probably better if I don't smoke weed, but I know that I'm going to, because it's like the urge is so overwhelming at this moment. So I just released that feeling of shame and guilt. And
so you're feeding the guilt wolf, which is feeding the weed wolf.
Right, and he was in turn feeding the weed wolf, right? And so I pulled that guilt part of the cycle out.
Right.
And it has made the whole cycle less powerful. Mm-hmm. And so I have fed the bad wolf. You know, I've rolled him up with joints and smoked it for him. I actually don't smoke joints, so what am I talking about? Anyways, and so this shift took place a few months ago, where it's like, I definitely am not in a place where I once was, and I don't look up to myself like I used to, but all of that's okay, and I know that eventually it's going to work itself out. And so just getting rid of the shame element of it all allowed me to start feeding the good wolves a little bit, because the shame was keeping me from doing more productive habits, which for me are meditation.
So you're kind of hiding. You were like, the guilt was hiding the good wolf in a certain way.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, you know, we can only do so much feeding.
Sure. Right.
And I just kind of allowed this space to open up where I would make space for good things in my life. And so, I would go a few days without smoking weed, and then that urge would just be like so strong, or maybe I had something happen. Like I'm realizing like there's probably a really good chance that I'm going to smoke weed at some point today. Before I do that, though, I'm going to try meditation. And maybe it'll change my mindset enough that I won't want to smoke, and maybe it won't. But either way, I'm going to feed that wolf first.
The good wolf.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so it's unlike last time coming out of depression, where it was just like, you know, I'm depressed yesterday and today I'm not depressed. It hasn't been like that. It's been a steady, well, not really even steady, but it's been growth. And it's like that stock chart again, where there's ups and downs, but the general trend line is up.
So what would you say again for people who are going through different valleys of that trend line into difficult times of feeling that depression? What would be the first thing that you would say to somebody right now to help them out of that cycle?
Mm-hmm. Well, what did it for me was dropping the guilt and and just accepting that this is what my life looks like at this moment. And I probably could have done things differently and had received different results. but just yeah, I mean, I guess a lot of it was like just trying to get present again, and not doing that constant comparison of like, oh, this is how good my life was and this is how bad it is now. And
so it's like acceptance.
yeah, and really dropping the shame game, right? Like I'm gonna go screw up, and I'm gonna do it consciously because it's just what I feel like right now. But I'm not gonna add another layer of distress to that.
So
I won't consciously add another.
You're beating yourself up, and you ask yourself, why am I beating myself up?
Like wolf habits, yeah.
Like meditation.
Firstly, meditation,
Good wolf, yeah.
strenuous exercise, and honestly, things like this are extremely therapeutic. And I've been sort of, even though I've been definitely feeling a lot better, and I don't feel depressed anymore, thank God. I still lack that sense of purpose, and so I think like finding that is what's going to get me back, not to where I was before, but it's gonna
who you're gonna be.
Yeah, who I'm gonna be, right?
Yeah.
It was like an awesome dude.
Yeah, so it's really brave of you to come before us all and share this. I think that's
Thanks.
It's another thing.
No,
I think
definitely.
that shows anybody's on the road to recovery is when they can open up and talk about it.
Yeah.
And that's that acceptance thing. It's like, you know, I was here, but now I'm here, and you know,
And I'm gonna get over here.
And the good wolf's getting
Right.
stronger.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think another tip that I would share for all the viewers, something that worked for me is like, I had to try many times, and to get myself out of depression. It did not work the first several dozen times that I tried to get myself out of depression. But I just, even though I was really down at some points, I kind of always knew that I would eventually get out of it. And I kept creating more and more spaces to feed the good wolves. I got a gym membership, and I started practicing
Yeah, there you go.
meditation regularly. And so yeah, I think that like the momentum has shifted, and I've gotten to a point where like I'm less interested in feeding the bad wolves.
Yeah,
And,
right. That part of your life just naturally goes away.
It starts to fall away.
Yeah.
You fill it in. I like what you're saying, because to me it's almost like you're saying there's always a void. We'll always have a void. Everyone has a void. What are you going to put in it?
Sure.
You have 24 hours in a day. What are you going to put in it? And you really do have a choice. You can go to the gym and work out, or you can sit around and watch TV all day.
Yeah.
Or you can smoke pot, or you can call a friend and get together and talk about what's going on. You know, it's like, how are you going to fill?
Yeah, I think it might be different for everybody. I had an addiction to nicotine, and so what I did was I took a whole pack and sliced it open, put it in a bowl, and every morning when I woke up, I'd look at that big pile of tobacco. I said, oh my God, I'm putting that in my body every day. Right? And that worked, and it just fell away.
See, that would not work with a big pile of weed. Oh my God, that's what I'm putting in my body right there. I wish
But I think the point is that we just need to find that trigger that feeds the good wolf, and whether it's through exercise or meditation or any spiritual practice.
Yeah.
Or finding that passion.
Yeah, and if you're in a depressed state, then your good wolves are probably not that strong, and it could be like, you know, my first time where things change quickly, or it might be that you got a bottle feed them for a long time.
So I just thought of a childhood reference, the little engine that could.
I think I can.
Yeah.
So yeah, like the first time you experienced depression it was like you said, almost this miraculous shift. You saw the book. We've talked about that before, actually.
Yeah, I talked about that one of those speeches.
Yeah, when you talked, yeah. But you sort of hit rock bottom, and you hit the black, and you desperately wanted to change, and it came, and the book came, and then and it happened fast. But this next time in your life where things kind of spiraled out of control and you felt yourself in depression, it hasn't been that quick, but it's been conscious. Your shift. Mm-hmm. You know, you became aware of it, and you're like, you know what, this is not going to last forever, and there's more that I think I can experience. But
and this was a taking out, kind of unwrapping it, and looking at it, right?
yeah, and seeing it and recognizing the guilt and recognizing the shame and saying, okay, I'm done with the shame part. So now the boat can float a little. And I'm still feeding the bad wolf a lot, but less and less.
Yeah.
You know,
at least I don't feel bad about that.
At least I don't feel bad about it anymore. But you're allowing it. So, yeah, the I guess I'm almost formulating, you know, sort of 3 steps. Number 1, release guilt, release shame. Number 2, begin to replace, in a sense, something that you love, passion, purpose. And number 3, some very concrete habits, which can be, I know for Linda, it's taking a bath every day and making that a meditation.
Sustainability. I mean, that's what sustains.
That's what sustains us. Yeah. And we talked about earlier the food we eat affects our mood.
Definitely.
Exercise affects our mood. So some concrete way of, I'll use it as a catch-all phrase right now, but some concrete way for a spiritual practice.
Yeah, so positive habits.
A positive habit.
And I'd have to add one more. So surrounding ourselves with the people that we want to be, rather than the people that bring us down.
Well, that's huge. It's a huge one.
Yeah, totally. The environment is huge.
Yeah. I know when you said, you go back to your Central Oregon where you grew up as a child. I had a very similar experience in Eugene. So I went back to Eugene and right back into the old habits, man. The old crowd and going nowhere. Living in high school, living in high school was the pinnacle of our life.
Yeah.
And so getting out, moving to Portland, you get out of that environment. So I had to
change your environment.
Yeah. And then when you start over, you just make sure you surround yourself with the people you want to be instead of the people that you don't.
Yeah, well, totally. I mean, like, it's no mystery that I struggle more in Central Oregon than I do here in Portland.
Yeah, it's no surprise. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I would love to be so independent and like immune to my environment to a certain extent that I am always the captain of my own fate. Right. But that is not at all true. It's not even close to true. I mean,
it can be.
I know that
it's
can
possible.
be. I mean, I see people like that.
It's kind of, you want to travel fast or far? Because if you want to travel fast, go alone. But if you want to travel far, you travel in a group.
I like that too.
The right group.
The right group.
The right group.
Yeah.
So, well, as always, we hope that this has been helpful, and I know for me it has been. It's been wonderful. I'm really grateful to Lennon. Literally called me at 1 o'clock or noon today, something like that.
I'm in Portland.
Hey. I said, okay, we're going to shoot a tipping point. Okay, I'll come over. And then we just created this. And John, of course, thanks as always for being here. And, life is no one said it was going to be easy, Seriously. I mean, in fact, I was talking to Christy the other day, and I guess maybe that's not even true. I said to her, in many ways, it's a disservice that we grow up with all these fairy tales. Because that's not life. Life is difficult and we have challenges, but when we are willing to look at it as you have been, we're willing to embrace those bad wolves and recognize them and then begin feeding the good wolves, we can shift it. So I hope that this has been inspiring for you, and I believe, which is why the mission of this is that the most important things we can do with our life is to seek truth and to spread love, and they go together. So I hope you will do that, whatever that means for you, to seek truth deeply. When it's difficult, keep looking, and along the way, spread love.
And tell us about your story in the comments, and we'll give you some replies as well.
Absolutely.
And visit the website, tippingpoint.productions. And this guy behind you, he's going to tell you to like and subscribe.
Right now, he is. There you go.
Peace!
If you're new to YouTube, then let me explain. You gotta give a thumbs up, that's how we play the game. You see, the more thumbs up a video gets, the more the powers that be distribute the video for others around the world to see. Next to subscribe button, there's a little bell. You gotta click on this little guy as well. Then and only then will YouTube inform and let you know that Tipping Point Productions has got a new video. So give a thumbs up, click the bell, and share the love. So together we can take the truth and